What's up, sis? Welcome back to It Sis, the place where the tea is hot, the stories are messy, and the truth is always unfiltered. We're here for the drama, yes, but we're also here for the lesson, hiding underneath it. So get comfortable, because today we're spilling and reflecting. You ever listen to somebody's story and think, that's wild, but deep down you know you've been there too? That's because messy stories don't just entertain us, they expose patterns, choices, and moments we all need to look at. And if you really pay attention, every bit of drama comes with a lesson. So keep spillin', keep reflectin', and most importantly, keep growin', sis. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications, 'cause we just getting started. Until next time.
So I'm in this van, and I'm in this van with these two guys, and the man who was driving, the police officer, he was pretty cool. He wasn't tripping. The guys were like sitting directly behind me. The two guys was just making me laugh the whole hour and something drive. They just were cracking all of these jokes, and I'm about to go to jail, but they had my spirits up. It don't take much for my spirits to be up, but they had me laughing. This was new to me, but they were trying to make me feel comfortable, like, it's not all that bad. They were telling me stuff like, you might get this, you might get that, trying to make me feel better about the situation. So we get to the Winnebago County, and they check us in, and when they checked us in, they told us that we could go ahead and use the phones as much as we wanted to until it was time for us to go upstairs to ourselves. This was the first time I got to call anybody in like 2 days. I'm able to use the phones, and the only number that I know by heart is my granny number, because she has had the same phone number all our lives. So I called my granny, and then I was able to speak with everybody else. I was able to talk to my son and make sure my son was okay. And after that, it was like a heavy weight lifted off of my shoulders. I felt so much better. Then two female staff came to me, and they were telling me that I had to take my weave out of my head. Whit had just did my faux locks like a day or two before this happened. So taking them down was so irritating to me, but the girls took it down for me. Now, whoever remembers, back in 2020, May of 2020, that's when I cut all my hair off and I had that fade. So by now December, I had like this much hair. Like, it was enough to grip to put the faux locks on. So when they took my hair down, it's nothing but a freaking little afro just sitting on top of my head. So yeah, they send me up to my cell like that. This little ugly afro. They take me up to my cell, and it was cold in there too. But it's the winter time, so it's to be expected. In my cell, I got there late again, so I still didn't get to see any of the other girls. I just went right to my cell and just went right to sleep. Now I was able to finally get some sleep. So the next morning I get up, I come out, it's other girls out, and it was so cold. I come out with my blanket on, and I remember one of the girls telling me, like, you can't have your blanket out here. And I was just like, okay. One of the black girls, but I put the blanket back. I came out, I was asking one of the staff members about being able to use the phone, but when you just get to a prison, expect not to use the phone for like a day. Especially if you come on the weekend. If you come Friday, you probably won't be able to use the phone till Monday. I wasn't able to use the phone. But it was fine, because like a few hours later, they ended up telling me that I had to go back to court again. And when I went to court, this time they gave me a bond. They were releasing me. I ended up finding out that my granny put her house up in order for me to get out. So like, if I was to mess up, she would lose her house. They sending me home on pre-trial. So if I was to do anything wrong on pre-trial, like catch another case, go back to jail or anything like that, it was her house that was at stake. So they let me out. I don't have a phone, I don't have anything. So I'm asking the police station, can I use their phone? They let me use the phone, and I called my boyfriend. And when I called him, I'm like, yeah, they just let me out. I need you to come pick me up. Mind y'all, this is like an hour drive from where I stay. And so I'm like, I need you to come pick me up. And I'm already expecting to just be waiting like an hour. He was like, I'm already outside. And I was like, stop lying. He was like, I'm outside. I'm like, okay. So I go outside, my boyfriend's outside, I got this afro, I got on these big orange clothes, this jumpsuit, they're orange shoes, and he like, man, take that shit off. He got my clothes. I'm throwing this shit out the window. I'm like, how the hell are you here? Like, how did you know I was finna get out? And so the lawyer had been communicating, letting them know they were finna let me out. So he had already made his way, shout out to him, to come pick me up. So we go back to my house, my apartment, and it was trashed. Like, it was trashed. It was like a tornado had ramshacked and went through. It was terrible. I could not stay there. I'm like, I can't stay here. It was like too much for me. I'm like, I just grabbed a few things and we left, and we went and stayed at a hotel for a few days. So here I am on pretrial. And let me just say, pretrial is the worst shit ever. It's the worst shit ever. Like, it's constantly in the back of your mind that you may go to prison. You may go to prison, and it's just like you could be having the time of your life, but then it'll come in your mind, and then your whole mood just changed. Like, I'm really finna go to prison. Like, it was just terrible. The unknown is terrible when you just don't know what's going to happen, what the outcome is going to be, but you still have to live life. My son doesn't know what's going on. The people around me, everybody doesn't know what's going on. So I can't be around here moping and crying in my room or trying to kill myself. I just have to go through emotions. But it's definitely hard being on pretrial. Pre-trial is a lot like your probation period, kind of like there's things that you just can't do. You can't be drinking, you can't be smoking. They drop you, they do random pop-up. You can't leave the country. They took my passport, they took my gun, they took my conceal and carry and my FOIA card. You have a pretrial officer that you have to report to, and every time I'm driving, if a police officer just randomly wants to check my license plate, it bings to my pretrial officer. My pretrial officer is calling me like, why did they run your plate? Any type of police encounters, you're supposed to report it to your pretrial officer. Every month I had to log on to this website and say nothing's changed, like my address hasn't changed, my phone number hasn't changed. Okay, submit that. It was just like I went from a normal person living my normal life to government's property. Now I have to report to these fucking people. Ugh. So the person that I was doing this stuff for was given $100,000 for me, and the first lawyer that I had, we ended up paying him $24,000. That first lawyer was a white man. He was extremely straightforward. He was honest. I feel like he was too hard for me at the time. Like, I'm a person that likes to manifest things. Like, I speak positivity. I don't want to think that you're going to prison. With him, that's exactly what he was telling me. He was telling me like, look, ma'am, the evidence is here. You're gonna do some jail time. What he wanted to do was try to get me as least amount of time as possible. And if that be probation, that's probation. But he's like, you're still gonna have to do some type of time. You're not finna get away scot-free. Realistically, that was what he was telling me. He was keeping it real with me. I was not trying to hear that. When I was going to the meetings to meet with this lawyer, he was telling me that I should participate with the police, work with the police, give them the information that they're asking so that I can get probation. I was not trying to do that. And he's up front just telling me like, if these people really loved you, if they care for you, they would have never put you in this situation. He's like, I'll give you some time to think about it. This is a life decision. You need to think about your son. Who's gonna take care of him? Who's gonna protect him and love him while you're gone in prison? So I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. At first, when the prosecutors were coming at me, they were charging me with the intent to distribute a substance. The substance was fentanyl. That's what the drug was. They were saying basically that I was selling the drugs, that I was like this queen pin, that I was calling all these shots and making people do this and do that. That held a 10-year to life sentence if found guilty. And I never even knew what fentanyl was until I caught this case, until I was being charged with it. That's when I started doing all my research on it. And my lawyer was saying like, that's the #1 drug that's killing all of these people right now. That's why the time is so heavy. They're not going to play with you with that drug. And I'm just like, what the fuck is fentanyl? Like, I never been a person to indulge and intoxication behavior, like any type of drugs, weed smoke, pill popping, alcohol, anything that alters a person's normal state. I don't care for. I don't even want to be around those type of people. I never really paid too much attention. I knew the shit that was being sent to my house was drugs. I knew that. I knew the shit was illegal, but I didn't know exactly what the drug was. I was going to take that to trial. I'm like, I am not pleading guilty, and these motherfuckers is not giving me 10 years to life. At this time, my baby was like 4 or 5 years old. I'm thinking like, by the time I come back, DJ is gonna be a teenager. Like, no, I'm not going down without a fight. So I was telling my lawyer, like, I want to take this to trial. I'm not just gonna plead guilty. For him to go to trial, he wanted 60,000. But like I said, his energy, I just wasn't feeling his energy. So I ended up firing him, and I looked for another lawyer. And this time it was a black man. And he wanted 20,000 just to take the case, just to start. And so I talked to the person who had the money, and I'm like, this lawyer wants $20,000. The person says like, well, see if he'll just take 14,000 and we'll give him the 6,000 later. So I asked my lawyer, and he was okay with it, and he was like, okay, he wanted his other 6,000 within the next 2 months. So I'm like, okay. So I give him that 14,000. This lawyer, he was not for snitching. He did not want me to tell anything. He was saying, I will fight. We'll take it to trial if need be, but I'm not doing the snitching thing. And so that's what I wanted to hear. Like, I don't want to snitch on nobody. If I'm going to pay you, I want you to fight for me. So that's the type of time he was on. I'm out on pre-trial, and I'm going to live my best life. If I know that I'm about to go to prison, I'm gonna live my best life. Like, I was going out of town, going to every party, spending so much time with my son, taking him everywhere. I know that I'm gonna go to prison, so why not live my life? And that's exactly what I did. I was having so much fun. But then I get a text message from my lawyer, and my whole mood had changed. Just like that. I get a call from my lawyer, and I'm like, fuck, I am about to go to prison. Like, just pre-trial is just crazy. Now that I'm gonna take this stuff to trial. This is the goal. We working towards trial. I get another offer from the prosecutors that's saying that, okay, you don't want to tell on nobody. That's fine. How about you tell us everything about the drug exchanges and stuff, but we don't put it on record, and you don't have to take the stand or anything like that. It'll just be you giving us information, but nobody will ever know. So it protects you. I didn't want to do that either. I told my lawyer, like, no, I don't want to do that either. So the case is just going and going and going. Because of COVID, it kept being rescheduled. Court dates canceled, pushed it back. I was never going in person. Everything was on Zooms. So I was on pretrial for 3 years. 6-7 months into me hiring this lawyer now, and he's looking for his other $6,000. So I'm telling the person, like, he wants his other $6,000, and the person tells me that they spent it all. They don't have the $6,000. So I'm just like, okay, so you were given $100,000 for me. You gave me 24,000 on the first lawyer, and that leaves you with 76,000, and then we gave this lawyer 14,000, and that leaves us with 62,000. And now I need this other 6,000, and I'm being told that it's gone, that there's no money to pay this lawyer. I'm just like, wow, that money was supposed to be used for my lawyers, just in case I go to prison, to make sure my son is straight. I just felt like motherfuckers was just saying, fuck me. That's how I felt. So now I have to come up with this other $6,000. So yeah, OnlyFans, here I come. So I was doing my OnlyFans really heavy. I was driving Uber. I was doing hair. I mean, yeah, I'm bringing in money, but I still have bills. Still have my rent, my car note, my phone bill, my insurance, all of these bills, and I still have a son that I have to take care of. But I did get some help from some family and friends, and I was able to pay my lawyer the money. So my trial was set for January 2023. Me and my lawyer had been talking, preparing, coming up with all the evidence we need for me to go to trial. And then come like the beginning, it was either December, late December, or beginning of January, my lawyer comes and tells me that the prosecutors have lowered, they changed the charges. So now they're charging me with conspiracy to distribute as opposed to me actually selling the drugs. Because I feel like during trial, they weren't going to be able to prove that I was selling drugs because there was absolutely no proof of me selling drugs whatsoever, nor was there proof that I made the purchase to buy this drug. So I feel like that's why they changed the charges. So my charges became basically that I retrieved this package and that I was going to pass it off to somebody else, which is actually what was going to happen. That's what they would have been able to prove in court. And so my lawyer is like, look, we can't fight that. We're going to have to take that. So that change of charge ended up changing the sentencing guidelines. It went from that 10-year to life to 5 to 10. So, all right, we don't have to take it to trial. The prosecutors also came to me. They were asking me that I want to do a safety valve. Now, with the safety valve, I don't have to tell on anybody. I just have to tell my participation in the transaction, and it could possibly give me probation. So my lawyer felt like, I mean, we should try that. What else do we have to lose? You want to try to get probation? So we went. This was my first time sitting in front of the prosecutors. At first, they were talking to me about normal stuff that I knew they already knew, and I was just answering the questions accordingly. But then they started showing me pictures of other people asking me questions about those people, and I just knew, like, okay, this is going left. This is exactly what I didn't want. So one of the pictures that they showed me was of this officer that I was dating, and they asked, like, who's he? And I said his name. I'm like, officer, and I said his last name. And so my lawyer was like, hold on, wait, stop. No. And he pulled me to the side and he asked me for details regarding the guy. I'm not thinking nothing of it, but he was like not going for it. So we went back into the meeting. He was like, this meeting is over. No, I don't know nothing about this. Y'all didn't tell me about this person. And he just lost it. He like, no, we're not doing this anymore. So needless to say, they did not give me that probation. They did not give me that safety valve. They felt like, okay, we're keeping stuff. We're lying. I go to court. They present their evidence, and my lawyer is presenting his evidence. And I pled guilty. There was a bunch of things that they were, trying to use against me, trying to give me the most time possible. The prosecutors was trying to give me 10 years. And my lawyer, of course, is trying to lean towards the lower side, the 5 years. I'm sitting in court and I'm listening to both sides go back and forth. You can't talk. I can't say anything. But they did allow me to like write something to the judge, and I was able to speak to the judge about my character. When you plead guilty and you take ownership of what you did, the judges like that. That's something that reduces your points in their eyes to where they'll give you less time based off of you taking responsibility and saying that, yes, I did do this and it was wrong, realizing that what you did was wrong. So if you're ever fighting a case, make sure that's something that you do. I'm hearing them go back and forth, and a prosecutor's job is to make you look like the worst person on earth. And they did that, baby. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, they used the worst grades that I ever had during college. It was like my freshman year or my sophomore year of college, and I just wasn't giving a fuck, and they used those grades. I'm like, my whole college career I've always had really good grades, but they found the worst ones and they used that in court. They were even lying. They were lying. Like when they raided my house, they planted stuff in certain areas and said, yeah, she put that there. Oh, it was insane. But heads up, they do that. They lie. Didn't matter anyways. I done already pled guilty, but like I said, they were wanting me to get 10 years. So whatever they could do to make this judge look at me in a negative way, that's what they were gonna do. I ended up getting sentenced to 66 months. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, how much time is that? And that was 5.5 years. 5.5 years.